how do you feel? How can we feel safe while going back into our new norm? And what is that going to look like for us?
Absolutely. I think the concerns are very warranted. My colleague, I'm not on the front lines at this point in my life, but my colleagues are, and they're concerned. So what you want to do is begin to prepare now, knowing that eventually this is coming down the line. If you are a person who you can work from home a little longer, then that may be a conversation you can have with your supervisor in terms of if you're still trying to manage childcare and homeschool and all those other type things.
Right.
However, if you're a person that you will need to report back to somebody's office or work site, you want to have the conversation with your employer in terms of what infection control prevention methods are you guys putting in place for us as we come back. And if there's not a plan in place, one, that needs to be a conversation that the leadership needs to have. And if you are a business owner, this is something you want to consider for your employees.
Right.
If you own a restaurant, what's new? I saw on the news in California, now they're implementing that all menus must be wiped down with sanitizer, all tables, chairs, everything in between each person. So if you're in a place where there's a common space, like if you have to use a copier that everyone uses, or you have to use something,
Right.
obviously
That's a good
doorknobs,
point.
bathrooms, make sure you bring your own stuff, right? Nobody's going to look out for you better than what you will look out for
Right.
yourself. So some of us have family members that are immune compromised. And I know that's my situation. I quarantined back home with my parents, and my mom is immune compromised. So I've been extra careful even with the decisions I make, because it's not just about me, it's more so about her. So at this point, we all know Lysol and Clorox wipes are so difficult to find. Every now and then you may be able to find them. Spray Lysol can is difficult to find. So let's think about what we can do to make sure you still have the appropriate sanitation. So I know in the area right now, I'm closer to Wilmington, North Carolina, their Sam's has a massive amount of those industrial paper towels, like you see that, when you wash your hands in a restaurant, it's automatic, it just comes down, because
Right.
all the industries and businesses that use those are closed. So we don't use those in our homes, so no one's buying those. You may have to use something like that and maybe have some cleanser like you would normally clean your house with that's still
Right.
disinfectant.
Mm-hmm.
Spray that on that and wipe your desk down, wipe your mouse down, wipe all those things down. Don't touch a fax machine if you haven't wiped it down. I still would recommend, especially at the beginning, keep a mask on, make sure you're still socially distanced if possible,
Right.
with your organization, because it's not about fear, because, we know God is not giving us the spirit of fear, but he's also
Right.
given us wisdom and
That's right.
preparation. And with wisdom and preparation, that anxiety begins to decrease a little bit. So I encourage people to make a plan starting now. I know two things you want to ask: who's affected, whether that means who's in your home, right? And who's indirectly affected you if you buy groceries for your mom or this elderly neighbor, who's affected,
Right.
and what can I expect? So whether that's in terms of childcare, whether in terms of his work requirements, whether it's in terms of other things that you may need to think about logistically. Don't wait until May and then get in this panic and you can't find anything at any store, because we all know stores get shipments, some of them twice a day, right? You may have to try different places. And those of you who live in Charlotte, you may have to go outside of Charlotte, because what I'm noticing is the rural areas tend to have things because there's less
More.
people. So I
That
know,
makes sense.
I live in South Park, and when I was looking for toilet paper and paper towels and everything, I would go to Pineville, and they always had it. There's a Dollar General in Pineville. So I'm letting the secret out. There's a Dollar General in Pineville that every time I went, they always had toilet paper. They always had paper towels.
Mhm.
So now my parents live in a rural area. The Dollar General, the stuff that no one can find, okay, hand sanitizer, all that stuff. But now what can we do to be creative? Because these stores get supplies in. It's just a matter of you being there when they're unloading the truck. Then my mom and I positioned that. So Walmart was unloading a truck, and we literally helped the lady, like, oh, don't worry, I got this box for you because I need these wipes in here,
Mhm. Mhm.
So just kind of finding that out. And sometimes if you're, especially at this point, if you're free, it may not be a one-day trip like we want to go in, get everything, come back, decrease our infection, but that one day might not have what you need.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really good. What would you say to those who have lost loved ones to COVID-19? My condolences definitely go out to them, but for some of us, we're not seeing. I'm going to be honest, because I'm not on the front line,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in the house most of the time. I don't see it, and I try not to watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone they're on the front line, they're seeing it, and they're dealing with the anxiety or still, mourning from the loss. What do you say to them so that they can get past this season and time?
Right. So that's a multifaceted question. So first, my thoughts, my prayers, and my condolences do go out to anyone who is in any way impacted by this, whether it's our healthcare providers. My colleagues are struggling. They're in a place where they're constantly having to have that conversation to say, I'm sorry, your 39-year-old healthy husband that walked into this emergency room is no longer with us. Like that, I can say from a professional perspective, I've had to have that conversation, and it's emotionally draining. It's because oftentimes people don't realize we go into healthcare because we want to change lives. Yes, it's a job, but we care about the people, right? I don't look at you as an African-American, you're old, this 40, I look at you as you're a mom, you're a wife, and so, right. So there needs to be no stigma with whatever the healing process is for all those people affected. And knowing that right now we are in trauma. It truly is unprecedented trauma. This is it's like 9/11, but worse, and also knowing that trauma has secondary trauma afterwards, right? So we may get back to our new normal because it will never be our regular normal. We're not going back to what we had, right? Like after 9/11, life has never been the same when you try to fly a plane. So our new normal is going to be different now, but also knowing that there is a healing that might need to take place and to be okay with it. Don't be so gun-ho, I got to get back, got to do this, got to do that. No. Healing is mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. And if you leave out any one of those components, you're not going to be able to function or have mental clarity in your next levels of your lives. And I know what it's like because I had a family member to pass away, and we don't know for sure if it's COVID or not. I mean, as a relatively healthy young person that suddenly is no longer with my family, and to see that casket via internet is something that I wouldn't want anybody to see, because you already have these emotions. You lost a family member, and I have someone right now, I got a message that, they're on hospice and in a coma. They're not expecting them to make it. So just know that you're not the only one going through that. And whatever your support systems may be, whether it's family, whether it's a close friend, somebody who you can be vulnerable with that will help you, go start off with that first, right? Be okay. Don't be in isolation. Don't sit there and suffer alone, because there's people who want to help you, but also knowing that there are therapists, there are counselors, there are people who are therapists who are also women of faith or men of faith who not only have education and transformation, but also on a spiritual and a supernatural anointing level, right, can bring that in too. So if you are a person of faith, that's something that, our healing naturally comes from our spiritual being. But if you are not a person of faith, just also know that be okay with your process and know that this is a process. You will make it through. You will come back better in the end. Somehow, some way, it will always work for your benefit. You'll be stronger. You'll be more resilient, because many of us have gone through adversity in life, and it's like when you're going through it, all you see is this.
Right.
You can't look at the big picture. You don't care about the big picture. You just want this to be gone. Right?
I
but
agree.
This is your boot camp. It's your training ground. This is what is preparing you for that next level and putting you in position that you didn't think you needed to be in. So often we're focused on here when we're supposed to be here. And the reason some people are getting in a place where they feel not content or anything like that is because they're pounding so hard in the wrong way. And oftentimes you have to be thrust into a situation of what I call transition, where your whole life suddenly changes. The life you knew is ripped out from you, and you're put in a new reality that you didn't ask for. You don't quite like, but you got to make it work. And as you make it work, as you make it work, you begin to realize that, hey, there's something to gain from this. I would have never met this amazing person or made this amazing experience had I not done that. And business owners have to do the same thing. Like you think about Domino's Pizza. In 2008, when the recession hit, their stock was worth less than $3, and they were almost out of the door. And we all know Domino's prior to 2008 was never known for great pizza. It was like, right?
And they came back better.
Right. The crust was nasty. We know that. They even said it. They said, look, we've heard your concerns. Our crust tastes like cardboard. And I'm like, you're right. And they said, we've changed our formula. We're going to make it easy for you. If it's 30 minutes or less, if it's not delivered by then and it's not right, it's free. And if it's something wrong, we'll fix it. So their stock in the beginning of April went up to, it was $300 and some. So they survived this down economy by pivoting, meeting their customers' needs, being in position, right? And it's the same thing for those who are listening to this and who are business owners. You're so focused about, oh, this was lost and that was lost and I can't do this.
Right.
But
That's
what
true.
can you do? That's why it's so important for you to have peace and mental clarity,
That's
because that's
right.
where the thoughts come from. I'm new to Charlotte. I just moved here in January, right? I've been working, I used to work full time and I built my business on the side. And I took an act of obedience and a leap of faith in January, coming to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
Within
That's
90
good.
days, I had 5 speaking engagements, and that was God.
That's awesome.
Now,
Yeah.
they were all
Yeah.
canceled, right? So I had my pity party just like everybody else. They told me to come here, you know.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
But since then, I said, okay, Felice, there are new needs that have now come up. What can you do to be in position to meet these new needs? Because you are qualified and trained, right? You guys have gifting that other people need. So what can you do to position yourself to be in a place where people need you, right?
Right.
Since then, I've had 9 speaking engagements.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm crying over these 5. I could have stayed and cried over these 5. I said, okay,
That's right.
what else can I do to pivot? What else can I do to reposition myself? So it's all about innovation, creativity, knowing that this did not happen to you, it happened for you.
For you. That's
And
right.
I've gone through difficult times where I've been unemployed as a registered nurse with experience for 9 months, right? I've gone through difficult times where I had a summer where 4 people who were very close to me died in one summer. So I know what it's like to go through difficult times, but I also know what it's like when you bounce back in the
That's
end.
right. And being able to see God in it.
Yes, right, right.
Right. Because you a lot of times you can't see God in it when you're going through it. But when you come out on the other side, it's like, now I get it.
Right.
So when we go through it again, and I have to remind myself, when I go through something, I have to remember the last time when I went through something.
Right.
Like, okay, God, you was in that, then I know that you are in this too.
Exactly.
And I'm just going to trust you through this process. I don't know what it's going to look like later. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't even know what you want me to do, but I'm trusting the process.
Exactly.